I believe that will do it. This might be a little too harsh. Oh, I will have to tighten that up. Hello, everyone. All one of you. So we'll see who joins in. This is a Sunday morning, May 29th, 2022 live cast, following on to yesterday, which I will talk about in a moment as I bring it back online. But let me follow my script for a bit, and then we'll see where it goes from there. In the interest of continuity and consistency, I don't want to blow up, but baby, if I did, I'd set a good example for a kid. So, that ampersand number sign 151, I have it wrong, it's ampersand number sign 151, when rendered will become, and I'll do my first jumping over to the web browser. I've got it kind of all set up here. Oh, there's no one with me. Okay, so replace this with an entity encoded M dash. So if you want to see what these things are, ampersand number sign 151 semicolon. Enter. Google will replace it with the actual character it's intended to be. And these M dashes, that's an M dash, EM, here you see it, Google's already filling it in, is the longest horizontal hyphen-like character in traditional typesetting. It's one of my very favorites. It's interesting. It's suggesting some different writers who must have used it a lot. But it's for a dramatic pause. If you want to say this and wait a little bit until you say that, it's a nice character to put between them, usually with no spaces. Some people, as a matter of style, put the spaces for an even longer pause. So I like the M dash, and I use it a lot. And when I use it in my journaling, I use it as a HTML encoded entity. It's called an encoded entity, an HTML encoded entity. A numeric one, an old style one, because I'm not even using it correctly because I'm not using Unicode, right? There's a Unicode way of doing this. I learned it back before Unicode was popular, so I remember the old style ones, and I make this little joke that it represents a dramatic pause, perhaps a little less intrusively than an ellipsis, which people often use for that purpose. But they never use it correctly. And there's the entity encoding for an ellipsis, ampersand number sign 133 semicolon, which I rarely use because it's so easy to type 3 periods. Okay, I showed you entity encoded searches on YouTube, and back from distraction now. Let's start out by just showing you folks what happened yesterday with the live broadcast and why I took it offline momentarily, and I'm about to bring it back online. I learned that already uploaded YouTube videos can be edited on YouTube. Amazingly, right? Seems like a new capability. Subtlety is everything. Nuance and subtlety. Capabilities and power always come from digging deeper, and that doesn't take real intelligence, I'll tell you. Ben Franklin, Albert Einstein, all these super geniuses that we think of as like pulsing brain aliens, we're very self-deprecating, saying they are of average intelligence, and a lot of it comes from persistence. So the image that's always in my mind is the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk from Marvel Comics, with only a touch of Bruce Banner. That is the spirit of Roomba. You smash into the wall, you back up a little, you turn a little, and you try again. And by following such a pattern, you can make discoveries, learn new things. And one of those discoveries and new things that I learned is here, in here. These thumbnails, well, first to get to this, it's this whole thing. So I guess channel content, I won't go back and surf around. I'm all set up to show it to you. There's this link here called editor. So when you go to your video in YouTube and you say edit video, eventually you can find your way to this editor button. And this is a video editor. And all these thumbnails are generally not filled in at first, nor the audio stuff. You have to wait. Sometimes it seems like an overnight wait until you can edit. And then you can make your edits. I will show you a little bit of that. You can hit trim. You can do stuff here, sliding and cutting stuff out and stuff. And I already did it. I did my edits. So I'm not going to really risk it. But then once your edits are done, you can go back to preview mode. So there's preview mode and there's trim mode. Oh, you would hit trim. I did hit trim. And then after you're done trim, you would hit preview again. And then that save button, which was not available until these thumbnails appeared, right? So you're waiting for save ability to be there. Otherwise, you have save as, which would spit off a new video. It's very interesting. I'm getting used to it. Subtlety and nuance. So, long story short, I go back to this in normal mode, where I will have, I guess I have to go back to channel content. I hope this is the right thing. And I can go back into that video on my lives, and I can switch that now from private back to public. You know, you folks always have been invited to see it. I only switched it to private for some silly reasons, like, well, I forgot to turn the audio back on in the live stream, and I'm checking now. I'm like paranoid about it. But I turn all the audio feeds to off, and then I throw up a preview, and then I go back to the live stream and turn all the audios back on when the live stream begins. I'm just getting this down. I don't really know it that well yet. So I have all my tabs set up for our discussion today, and I will once again drag out the chat. I encourage folks who are there to join in. I know there's more people there than this silly analytics screen shows. I'm learning my lesson. Don't be disheartened. You know, APIs will lie to you. APIs will lie to you. And oftentimes to dishearten you, to send you down paths that are not in your best interest, that are really quite against your best interests. And it's up to you to endure, to be like Roomba, to get up, to come back at it, and to not be disheartened. So I do my little setup work to get it to where we can show stuff together, chat together, and continue our conversation. First, everything starts with hydration, nutrition, and enough sleep. I had a little difficult time sleeping last night, but I wake up this morning, I'm on my second coffee, bad me, Stapleton, channeling the spirit of Staten Island. If I'm going to be back there in another 2 weeks to a month at this point, I might as well get it into me. Even if it's the coffee poison that I unfortunately prefer. This is my blended fruit drink from the Vitamix blender, which is double blended because we got some dragon fruit yesterday, and Addie was like, oh, blend that in. So I cut some more dragon fruit in. She asked for some more strawberries. I put those in and I reblended it. So I'm making sure that I have the good stuff flowing through me, and the Green Lantern's energy, right? So we brought back the live cast. I talked about that stuff, and so now let's see. I'm getting down my favorite keystrokes for doing this. If I do V and then Shift W, I go a word at a time, and it skips punctuations because of doing Shift W. So I'm trying to navigate my way to blowing up on YouTube without compromise. I'm going to try something new. Common wisdom would say to break out a new channel and focus on smaller, well-edited videos on just the topics people like and want to hear about. F that. I'm going to stick with my old Rough Edges channel, McLevin, where I had to drop the E in my name because other Mike Levins always get it first. And I mix personal and professional stuff, and it goes all the way back to 2006. I'm going to rub everyone's nose in the fact that I'm doing the contrarian thing, and I'm going to make it work because of that. If there's a hunger for genuine people out there struggling with self-betterment, I'm going to feed that hunger. Let them be my people and not those awful, bombastic, bribing beasts. Gotta let go of that anger, kid. V, Shift W. I speak of text editors, not prizes. I am not the beast. There are no prizes here, as you internalize skills for a lifetime that will help you think, help you express yourself, help you gain confidence, find grounding, code, and improve your work and overall life. No, there's no prizes here. I am not the beast. I represent joy. There will be no bill for joy. It's free. Bill Joy says people don't know that VI was written for a world that doesn't exist anymore. And by the way, Bill Joy wrote VI. All right. But it does, Bill. It does. Were cars made too easy to drive? Are keyboards too easy to type on? There is no such thing as a text editor that is too efficient, even though we have much greater bandwidth today. Thank you, Bill Joy, for still being engaged in today's world, as are your counterparts, Ken and Rob. But I respectfully disagree with your opinion. I know it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and you know VI is your greatest gift to the world. You allowed us to eat of that tree of knowledge with that gift. And I am not the beast. I advocate partaking of the gifts of the knowledge you had given us, Bill. Don't talk smack about VI. I would like to use it to blow up on YouTube without following the beast's path. I'll say it once, I'll say it again, and I'll say it once more. VI, VI, VI. Okay, stop the highlighting because it's a real transition here. V and Shift W. This has been a short story and is not at all meant to be taken seriously, folks. Just let some knowledge and fun sink into your brain through osmosis. There really is no connection between VI and the beast, but just in case you feel your soul needs cleansing, there's always Saint Ignatius. Let me introduce you to Saint Ignatius. When I release this on my blog release system, the video will be embedded here, right? So, nonetheless, meet Richard Matthew Stallman, aka Saint Ignatius. I will not play it, but anyone who publishes him in his Saint Ignatius role is worth a subscribe. I'll just jump it to where he's putting on the... I am playing it. Listen to the instructions, I'm sorry. Okay, Emacs versus VI. The text wars are as alive today as they ever were, as I like to point out. And where I am representing the editor of the beast, Saint Ignatius here represents the soft blues, the Emaxes of the world, right? All right, so I've introduced you to Richard Matthew Stallman and Saint Ignatius. Yes, Guido van Rossum represents the linear Yang Vim user in all of us. Over, say, the Yin Emacs users, such as Paul Graham and RMS there. People call Richard Matthew Stallman RMS. He's so iconic in this space. But how could this be if Guido programmed Python in Emacs? He's an Emacs user. Which one of you informed me? One of my listeners out there. And check it if you're there, because I see notes. Type something. Say hi. Reward me with your presence. Maybe no one's there. It is Sunday morning after all. But one of the chat participants yesterday, I gotta really take note of names, pointed out that Guido wrote Python in Emacs. So Guido is really a yin But he's a yin and a yang clothing. That's why such a soft, round, blue programming language is named Python. It is soft blue for doing sharp green things. It is simply inexpressible, so must be misrepresented to slip into your mind while your guard is down. The red pill is blue inside. Sorry, folks, you've been infected. Show the nice people Robin Williams' throbbing python of love. Think Robin's red or green? No, Robin's as blue as it gets. Poof, what do you need? But gentle spirits must protect themselves with humor and attack. I showed you RMS. It's time to show you. Boop, 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 channel. Did I get rid of it? Maybe I got rid of it. It was an Amazon link or something like that. Oh, Spotify, that's it. Here's Robin Williams in his younger form. In a bit he did, named The Throbbing Python of Love. Robin represents the deep emotive blues who have to suit up in armor in order to survive. Rest in peace. The blue comedians of world renown and generally Saturday Night Live fame, SNL fame, often clock out. And it's often through the use of feeling-reducing drugs, overdosing on the thing that they're using as another form of their red armor against their own internal hypersensitive emotions. Rest in peace, Robin. Okay, you want green? Look at Chevy Chase. Look at Dennis Miller. Look at Andrew Dice Clay. They're so green, they bleed sap. Abba Di Abba die. There's a rivalry in Saturday Night Live. There was a rivalry in Saturday Night Live between this gentleman here, John Belushi, and this gentleman here, Chevy Chase. This guy bleeds blue sap. This guy don't. This guy's the Green Arrow, and this guy's the soft blue fuzzy emoter. This guy's dead. This guy's still alive. This guy is a brother who carries on his work and stuff, tones down the emotive part, has some similar channel. This guy's named after a hotsy-totsy aristocracy bourgeoisie neighborhood in Virginia, where the rich people live, who are in politics and lobbying. This guy's still alive. Green Arrows don't really need so much armor because they just go out into the wild and hunt. And they use these hyper-optimized methods. You'll recognize them as sarcastic and snarky son-of-bitches, whereas these people are not so sarcastic and snarky, although they might come off that way sometimes. And they get into slap fights, and this guy just don't know what's going on, but they see the value in this guy, and they covet the value in this guy, and they can emulate and copy the value in this guy, but look into their rivalry. Every time they talk about comedic genius, it's this guy, John Belushi, the dead one. All right, so check that out. That's a very important video to watch. March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. I forget which month it is, but John comes in defense of that month that comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb and gets very passionate about it. It's a must-see. Really, truly a must-see. I showed you that one. You'll get some previews on, do I even need to talk about this song by Eiffel? Abba Di Abba. If I were green, I would die. Thus the name of this video. Okay, done with that one. And Mr. Beast, right? I am not talking, so many levels this stuff works on. I already talked about that. And we're working towards this. Of course we're working towards this. Yesterday, I was still the wolf. Today, I am still Green Lantern. And in particular, the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. Not just any Green Lantern, but Ryan Reynolds as test pilot Hal Jordan Green Lantern. Very important. Anywho, Green Lantern is true green. Hal Jordan is a test pilot. Hunter, much? Green Arrow is blue. In green clothes. He don't need armor. He's so good he can present himself as green, much like I do. My attire yesterday really shows it. Sometimes I show so much green that it's almost like desperate to be seen as green, as this soft blue guy, because I'm so sensitive and emotive that it'll kill me. But, like the Hawk, who occasionally channels Bruce Banner, the all-time best role model is very close to the surface of my head all the time, and I keep letting Bruce in. Keep letting Bruce in, keep letting Bruce in, keep letting Bruce in. Let Bruce in, let Bruce in. And that's one of the good things that the Disney-owned Marvel property has done, represent the Hulk with Bruce in control. Thank you for that. That's brilliant. And when one discusses Green Lantern, one does not need to make up poetry. This is not original poetry. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. I'll never blow up a baby. If I did, it'll be good for my kid. However, this is original poetry. A Tale of Two Tonys, and a thank you to Tony Antonuccio for the incredibly important role he played in my life. And to the security guard of the Irby complex in Staten Island, which while it gave me a complex, was valuable and worth it for the experience it gave my kid, being kind of a bigwig kid in this luxury, community, and also for meeting the second Tony. There was A Tale of Two Tonys. There was a little editing. Make it smooth, Mike. Make it smooth. There was a Tony who taught me Amiga was Unix most motley. Okay, try it again. There was a Tony who taught me Amiga was Unix most motley. The DCCU until Tony 2, I'm group thinking is bad, but it's not, see. There was a Tony who taught me Amiga was Unix most motley. The DCCU until Tony 2, I'm group thinking bad, but was not C. But was not C. I'm group thinking bad, but was not C. I'm group thinking bad, but was not C. Group thinking not C. Okay, this next one is not my original poetry. I didn't get to it. Oh my goodness, is that where I leave off? Yeah, yesterday's entry is down here. Ha 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 ha. Welcome to spontaneity. All right, save. What? Let's do a release. I'll do a before and after. There's going to be some lacking headlines, so I'll show you me putting the headlines in. Each lantern apparently makes up their own poem or mantra, and that's probably where, when I go spontaneous, I'll probably talk a little bit about poetry, mantras, litanies against fear, perhaps. Litanies against fear. See, I just stated that. I don't need to make up my own poetry when other people did it better than me for the purpose I need. So, yeah, I'll show you that. Oh, let's quiet the mind. These icons are growing a little bit too numerous. So I'll probably get rid of those, or at least a few that I don't actually use much or don't use the hotkeys for, or I'm fine with here. And notice how clean it all is here. I don't use GIMP and Inkscape enough for them to be out here. I'm not constantly loading GIMP and Inkscape, so I leave those in here. But they're here. And so I can always feel free to delete from up here. Some of them are aspirational. I'm meaning to show you things on my phone because I can show the screen of my phone right up here as if you were looking at my phone, and then I can use my phone and it's here on screen. I'm tempted to actually even do that now just to give you a preview of things to come. So I leave this thing up here aspirationally. But this is unwelcome. This is completely unwelcome. So one of the most important keyboard shortcuts on Windows is Windows keys E. And in fact, before I do that, I'll run Karnak. Probably on the wrong screen, but at least you'll see me hitting Windows key E. See that there? Pops up Explorer with my common shortcuts. In my common shortcuts is always documents. I hope I don't slip data. I hope that's not going to have to be an edit. I'll just drop that in there, and now I've cleaned up my thing. I don't think it's going to be an edit. I don't really have that much I don't want to show, but the occasional contact information or name of a deliverable for work, none of your business, right? So that is what led me to taking yesterday's stream offline until today, because now there's editing and all I have to do is splice out that tiny little piece. So I feel pretty comfortable doing this on my main machine, although I must admit I have that other machine on deck ready to spring into action here. And then I can feel more comfortable against information leaks. And I can, when I get ready for streaming, I can have that broadcasting the preview thumbnail without tying up my machine or risking some weird thing going wrong. I'm still getting used to all this. It seems like 2 machines is kind of a requirement for streaming. But all that special equipment, special cameras people use, switching video sources, editing afterwards, it's just not my vibe at all. So there you have it. I cleaned that up. I'll quit out of Karnak because if I'm going to have it on a screen, it's going to be on this screen here where I'm running Vim. Still nobody saying anything. Probably nobody there. It's Sunday morning. Who's going to be there? Only some nut, right? Some nut? Oh, well, we'll see. All right, there's not going to be a before and after because that clearly rendered and is ready to show, but mikelev.in. I'll give it before and after with giving things headlines that don't have headlines, right? This one here, certainly going to be something about Green Lantern or poems or litanies and stuff. This one I got to fix. It's actually going to be a 404, but that's because now at the bottom of my public mikelev.in journal, Shift G, Shift G, I was right, jumps me to the bottom. So in a file like this, there's 2 places that are always easy to get to. There's GG, which is the top, and Shift G, which is the bottom. So even when you're keeping one text file for life, there's still 2 places that are always easy to get to. Advocate one text file, journal, for life, under which there are 2 special locations, top and bottom. And you don't have to go crazy with indents and nesting. That's the kind of thing people switch to Emacs for. If you find yourself writing a to-do list editor inside of Vim, that's when you switch to Emacs. I should make a point of that. So many things which could be the central discussion point of any of these topics, but is hardly worth it because it would derail the momentum of this particular video. So let's demonstrate my macro and show you how it's going to be used. Actually, it's going to insert my citing, but nothing has to be perfect. Control V. Yeah, Control V. What the heck is going on? I have some modifier key pressed down, maybe. Control V. So Control V seems to not be working for some strange reason, and Jupyter wants my attention too. Let's Control V this pup here. Oh, there, Control V is working. It just wasn't working on the Green Lantern poem, and still isn't. Look, Control, there it goes. Okay, maybe it's my keyboard. So I do my @P for poetry, and then I just get rid of my 2 cites there because I didn't write that. Hal Jordan did. Probably Stan Lee or someone. I don't know who Green Lantern has an interesting history to it. So, you know, the Jewish story is so much represented in superheroes. Stranger in a Strange Land, superhero. It's the Jews from Nazi Germany coming to America, whatever, you know. And Green Lantern, creator. Let me share with you. Just go to Wikipedia, I don't know. So surface and objective. For the same reason you come to Wikipedia for the sort of objective view, it also misses the deeper stories that are lurking there. So the original Green Lantern, in collaboration with, so I think it's Martin Nodell. Mart Dellin. Something other than Wikipedia at this time. It died in 2006. Well, there's a story behind it. There's a story behind this guy who wrote Green Lantern, and in the same way Superman has his story that really parallels real life things, so does Green Lantern, and it's a very touching one. It's one that I'll research better and be in a better position to bring you the story of Martin Nodell a little bit better. But this one is certainly a poem of mine that should be cited @P. Thank you very much. That is a welcome macro in my selection. And now, a word on this kind of poetry. Now, of course, I had something in mind when I wrote this is not my original poetry. And I must remind you, and I'll do a little channeling, I'll try and put it in poetic terms as I do this, because green arrows aren't going to get this. True green arrows, the hunters who don't need this, the people who go, oh, just use VS Code, and then when VS Code changes, just go to the next thing and go to the next thing. So people who switch tools easily are multilingual. People who switch tools easily have the same quality as those folks who take up second and third languages in later years easily. This is not as easy as such folks project. They probably don't even know how others, like me, struggle with a second language, much less a third, fourth, and fifth on demand, and sometimes only just to stand still in the field, stay relevant, and not go obsolete. Does it sound familiar much? I mean, I'm going to hold back from bad-mouthing the trail of corpses on the way to the latest darling frameworks in JavaScript, but I think some people are going to have a little idea of what I'm talking about. It's hard. It's very hard for some people. Yet, if you have the love for the field of solving problems using your intellect, why should you be shut out of it just because the tools change frequently? Yeah, so I'm in this strange intermediate vibe. Should I try doing some drawing, maybe? Maybe I'll use this still available screen. You'll start to get the idea of why I keep 7 of these. 7 is a magic number here. Sometimes I go to 8, sometimes I go to 9, but sooner or later I X them down to 7 and go, yeah, one of them will have art rage for sure. Stylus, my friends. The stylus allows me to say draw, flip it to the backside. Anyone on an Apple Pencil, what happens if you were to flip your stylus around to the backside and go like this? What would happen on your Macs or your iPads if you were to do that? Oh, well, you probably lost the back of your Apple Pencil, and so probably you would scratch the screen. Yeah, mine's an eraser. Oh, it only costs about $80. I got the old model. That's all you need. Even cheaper on eBay or used. Nubs are easily replaceable. Oh, it doesn't need to be charged either. There's a battery in there that just basically lasts forever. And the eraser is also a button. And there's also the little, button on the side for as you draw to do this. Apple Pencil? $100 minimum. Sure, there's a few models. The cheaper model is a $100 one. So I'll do a few undos because I really want to do it from scratch. And maybe a thicker pencil. See, I don't have it all in muscle memory yet. That's one of the problems with the paint programs. You really don't need them in muscle memory as much as other things, because a stylus is drawing, you put it on the paper, you're born knowing it. So the closer the supporting API can be to natural movement, so I can switch my tool pretty easily. I can switch between a big fat paintbrush and a little more fine paintbrush. And so, yeah, that's what I'll do. Instead of changing the width, I just change to a different tool. And so I am in a Venn diagram between the blue circle, right? The soft blue circle. I'll make it big enough for a Venn diagram. Roomba, back up, turn a little. That'll do. Okay, so, tech is what? Tech is green. Tech is very, very green. And so I live in this place here where you have to dress yourself up in red armor so that someone who is very blue in nature can live in this place where the tools and the people and the ways of being are very green in nature. So paint might not be the best one because those colors are getting wacky. But these people here are multilingual. They retrain, they pick things up very easily. Things change, it doesn't bother them. Microsoft goes from version to version. Active server page becomes activeserverpage.net, becomes, VS Code becomes something else, and they stay with it, and it's okay with them. The ability to keep pace is actually even a competitive advantage because all these people are washing out. Like, we're going what? And becoming very unhappy in this space. No, not a circle for eyes. That's X's for eyes. Ugh. And so these people are happy because they're competing with fewer people. But people like me are like, so am I locked out of tech? Am I locked out of the field of tech? And the answer is no, you're not locked out of the field of tech. It's just the reality is significantly different than the green arrows want to portray it as. And this is where I check if people are still with me. It's a completely non-interactive one. Perhaps you're letting me stay on a roll, as when the Germans invaded Pearl Harbor. If you don't know the scene I'm talking about, you need to know the scene I'm talking about. Oh yeah, and it's John Belushi. I even forgot it was John Belushi. Oh my God. Ugh, so much channeling, so much good stuff. So thank you for keeping me on a roll. If you're actually there and not chatting to me, happy with the direction I'm going, because this is one of the most important videos I ever shot for sure. And I'm doing it live cast style. So cheers to me. The balance. There's a balance in all things. There is a balance between blended blueberries, strawberries, bananas, mango, peaches, flaxseed, orange juice, almond milk, dragon fruit, or strawberries. For protein, I'm thinking I'll start to add tofu or anything. So I have the water-soluble fiber, all the natural sugars and carbs. And then I'll also have protein. It'll be the ultimate drink. I won't have to eat anything else if I throw some tofu in here. Though arguably the almond milk is doing that already. And then you got bean juice of another sort. That has nut juice. It's not bean juice, almond milk. This one, though, has bean juice. Bean juice is one of the great gifts. All things that are yummy are bean juice. Sometimes it has mind-altering effects, mood-altering effects, as does caffeine, and that's okay. These are all things that are designed to help you fine-tune and adjust your vibe because you're allowed to do that. The vibe you were born with by birth comes from 22 bundles of features. Each bundle contributed by either your mother or your father. This is where the 23 in the company name, 23 and me, comes from. Wait, that's 23, not 22. The 23rd gene bundle, aka chromosome, is that XY thing that determines your hardware sex. The prior 22 are mostly your traits you're born with. That is not you. That is a suggested starting point provided by words fail. Refer to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, improbability engine. The chances of those 22 bundles of features contributed by your mother and father, the odds of you being here as a sentient being, the odds are fairly stacked against it. That you are here is a profound gift from sources unknown, regardless of how non-religious you might be. From a purely statistical odds and scientific standpoint, your being here, listening to this now, is unlikely, to put it mildly. Okay? And so, that starting point that is contributed by your mother and father is already highly unlikely. So, any additional modifications you do to that is gift upon gift upon gift. But from whom? From yourself. From somewhere around age 6 to, let's say, 16, a 10-year window, you go meta. Many creatures go meta. You know it by their ability to demonstrate symbolic thought. Monkeys knowing where bananas are from being shown in a model of a room. And if you're not clued into it yet, I'm going to type as I talk, and you are welcome to play this at, I'd suggest 1.75 playback speed in YouTube, maybe 2 times playback speed in YouTube. I'll try and throw some jokes in for people who are doing that, so you can't hear me if you're at 2 times speed, but the people at normal speed get the extra jokes and gifs. I'll give that some thought. I'll put lots of Easter eggs in here. You know, there's all kinds of evidence that other creatures have meta thought. Monkeys like that. Monkeys too think, therefore they are. Monkeys think, therefore they are. They can have thoughts along those lines. So what makes our 10 years of going meta different from monkeys? Nuance and subtlety. Can't spell subtlety, never will. Thank you, spell checker. And that's it. That's the end of that thought. Nuance and subtlety is what makes us different from monkeys, who also have this meta thought process. Ours is more. I guess that's not the end of that thought. More meta. More ability to actualize real world things. Be creative and allow the results, fruit, shall I be poetic? I'll be more poetic. Allow the fruits of that creativity to go through your digestive tract and have the seeds pop out your butt with the fertilizer those seeds need to take root and grow. Poetic enough? You're pooing out your creativity into the real world. All right, so I'm going to give this final thought here. Make sure I'm still streaming, right? Am I streaming? It's silence. I'll close some of these out and make sure that I'm not missing anything I want to talk about. Oh, putting a headline on that. Maybe. The various Green Lanterns and their poetry. Yeah, and then I'm down to these just streaming things, which really brings me back to the final point I'm about to make. Because I'm actualizing, right? This is Lundervond. I talk about it with my kid, but of all the sites I have that I haven't really developed yet, that I love the name of, I hate that it's a .com. I might have to rethink that. Lundervond.com. There's really nothing there. However, the concept, Lunder, Norwegian name, about 10 farmsteads. What does Lunder mean? There's that farmstead thing again. Grove. Well, you know what makes things grow in groves? You know what made the Garden of Eden the Garden of Eden, don't you? Walking along those migratory tracks, following the herds, as you're eating fruits along the way, and you find fruit groves growing as a gift, right? Do you follow me? Do you understand? What does Lunder mean? Cross between dinner and lunch? Well, if you dig far enough, you will understand that everything is an illusion, an allusion, not an illusion, an allusion to Depew. And Vond is much easier. It's not going to be so hard to find the meaning of Vond. It's German for wand. So what you have is something that is, water, Danish, German. Let's see if I'm lying to you. I do that sometimes. Not on purpose, mind you. I guess I could just type it, right? It's painful to watch. Vond. Well, I'm going to think of it as wand, okay? So what we have is Lunder, Poo, Vond, wand. It's a poo wand. Who would use a poo wand? What is the image in my mind when I say that? Well, it is clearly Waldorf and Statler. I view these two guys as most likely to be the wielders of the Lunder Vond, the Vond of Pooh, laughing at Kermit and Fozzie and Gonzo, flinging their Lunder Vonds, letting them think what they think of them. So, Mikey Likey, the Lundervond. It is a .com. I might do something different, but I think I'm going to develop this site. It ties together so many ways. There's the pen, and then there's also the media thing. I'm a typer, right? I do the typing. I type in different things. I type here, I type in Jupiter. It doesn't matter. I speak. I'm very, comfortable with the spoken word as well as the typed word and the written word. I draw. You're not seeing my best right now, but maybe if I do a little drawing ahead of time, I can convince you I can draw. I have drawn a thing or two in my life that work on various levels. Although I will perpetually shout out a thanks to Michael Welsh and Chris Simon, who did the original contest on making my name an ambigram. They did not do the final rendering, and at some point I'll pull out those papers and walk through it. And they did create some of the critical solutions that went into it, but I did additional solutions that went into it and did the final tightening up and rendering of the finished product. In fact, at least half the creative solutions and how things connect and come together were mine. But Chris And Mike, Chris Simon, Chris Simon, shout out to him. Go check out his Bitcoin stuff he's doing these days. Very interesting work. And Mike Welsh, who keeps going forward. The way I channel the Incredible Hulk with a touch of Bruce Banner, very much Mike Welsh. Oh my goodness, very much Mike Welsh. So I got some art in my background and some illustration skills, so I'll be bringing a little bit more of that to the picture. And that's the wand, the magic wand, the easy natural API where Microsoft got it so much better with their stylus than Apple got with their pencil. Okay, so what I'm leading up to here, because I went on a terribly long tangent, is the fact that what I was going to say with this is not original poetry. That does not belong there anymore. This is not original poetry. What does the Incredible Hulk do when he's knocked on his ass? Even the Incredible Hulk faces opponents who can knock him on his ass. Every Incredible Hulk has a Thanos or a Lobo. Lobo might be able to do it. Do I have that right? I don't need to show you every reference. But good old Frank Herbert has the answer in his Litany Against Fear, as recited by Paul Atreides, as taught to him by his Reverend Mother, Jessica, his mother. And there's going to be lots of them, and I probably will just go to Google Images to get better representations than any surfing into a page. I guess you can't avoid that. Google Images is really trying to get you to go to individual pages more than they used to with those. Oh, that's because it's a paid link, right? You go in here, and now you can just go left and right and find some good ones. I'll find a good one and make it go full screen. Something that does the right channeling. Choosing the right one is important. What is this? Is this a help wanted poster? Judaism and religion and stuff? Maybe, but too much is connected to it. This is an interesting one. This channels the correct spirit, I feel, of the Litany Against Fear. So in the Hulk, when even the Incredible Hulk gets knocked on his butt, there is still something, a recital, that one can do to recalibrate, to reground, to have the vim of your mind, the vim of your mind. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total oblivion. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Words, just words. And anyone who has closed their mind to the power of such thing will have the power to keep that to being just words. Good morning, Joseph. Good to see you. I do believe it's another one who I've read the comments from time to time in my videos, and I'm super pumped to have someone join in because I'm actually kind of winding down. My whole plan for this video has been working up to the Litany Against Fear, right? So this is not my original poetry, and of course I'm doing the Litany Against Fear found in the Dune sci-fi series. Again, no matter what movies you've watched and how much you think you know Dune, You do not, unless you read the books, all of them by Frank Herbert, and the ones by his son and ghostwriter. Let me just list some of those books, because the points being made there could be my parting shot, unless Joe here has Joseph. I'm sorry if I use the wrong nicknames and stuff, but if Joe has even seen some, because I know it's easy to jump around in these videos, even the live ones, and skip forward, so he might not have the full context yet. But if you have any contributions to make or questions or whatever, I'm happy to riff with you for a bit. But while we see if that's going to happen, I will go over here and I will look at the Dune series. Hopefully it gets the books. Dune franchise, Dune books. Dune books is what I want. And I'll show you the fact that Frank Herbert wrote a bunch of the originals, and his son picked up his good work, and the books have been much maligned. People are like, oh, just read the Frank Herbert ones, and you get everything out of it. That's about the same as people telling you the Green Lantern movie was not good. It's a lie. The Green Lantern movie was awesome, and the public was not ready for it. It was an artistic creation by artistic people who were being loyal to the spirit of the original work, which was worthy of staying loyal to. Green Lantern loyalists know that the actual story of Green Lantern is so good that how could you make a movie that dumbs it down? So they didn't dumb it down. They had the whole 360 degrees of the galaxy sliced into these smaller wedges with a Green Lantern assigned to each wedge, and Io and the Guardians and all that. So public wasn't ready for it. Public just wasn't ready for it. So let's just see, read all 24 novels in order. Here's someone who's talking about how to do it. It's a video. I wish they had the covers of the book. We got these ads we got to skip over. Ugh. Children of Dune. Okay, maybe this is really it. I hate these ads, but Heretics of Dune, Chapter House Dune by Frank Herbert. So you got some Herberts going on. But then you got Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson and other ones. House Harkonnen. Oh, these are good, man. House Carino. And then you get to my really favorite ones, the Butlerian Jihad, the story of really how this is the story of artificial intelligence, the rise of machines, the rise of machine intelligence, and the background for why the Dune robot-free, AI-free world is the way it is, why they relied on navigators who had this sort of mystical power infused in them by this mind-expanding spice. It had to be that way because their experience with machines so far had them have a pendulum reaction, a knee-jerk reaction, pulling back from even the possibility of machines. In fact, more valuable at this point than showing you all the books and pointing out my favorites, of which there's some really good ones. The Sisterhood of Dune, the story of the Ben Jesuit. The Mentats of Dune, my very favorite one. Okay, but the important thing is Dune's little poem about thou shalt not make machines in the image of man's mind. You know, gender language sucks, but you know, you can't hold that against him from that age. So Dune, no machine, image of man's mind. That'll bring up the poem easily enough. Commandment. It's a commandment. Thou shalt. Oh. Thou. And there it is. Of a human mind. Oh, it was less gender language than I thought. Go Frank Herbert. So the whole Dune universe is really based on this concept. People don't know it, but the Dune universe that has no robots or, artificial intelligence is because of prior experience of humankind in our universe. So unlike Star Wars that was copied, like story for story off of Dune, and then the rest that was not copied from Dune was copied from Joseph Campbell's, game plan for story. So while George Lucas, awesome, master storyteller, implementation is everything, right? So George Lucas did Linux. Lucas Linux. Frank Herbert did Unix. Herbert Unix, Lucas Linux, right? So all the original stuff, Frank Herbert was the Ken Thompson of Star Wars, honestly. And it was because thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind. And all the rest of those books that are put down, because Joseph here is saying Green Lantern was good, right? He quite enjoyed the movies, right? Green Lantern movies by Ryan Reynolds. So first of all, it was Ryan Reynolds. Come on. How bad could the writers and the directors and the producers be and not have Ryan Reynolds still lifted up to a certain level? It was good. It was good because of Ryan. Green Lantern movie. And again, channeling. I am still Green Lantern today. 2 days in a row, t-shirt. Stinky you. Green Lantern movie was good because Ryan Reynolds. Did I spell it right? Nope, I did not. I'll get it right. Copy it from there so that I get the upper and lower case, because it's still a little bit tough fixing upper and lower case in Vim. Not the worst thing in the world, but so it was good because Ryan Reynolds. It was good because of the loyalty to the original Green Lantern story. 360 degrees wedges of galactic police. It's such a brilliant story. The actual CG, I mean, I know they said it looked cartoonish, like he was a cartoon character. It's a comic book movie, folks. The CG, the hands, the car, I don't want to do spoilers if you didn't see it, but the CG, the computer graphics, they were just fine. The stereotypical father gets killed comic book trope. It's a reason it's bad. It was predictable. It's a comic book movie, folks. It's a good comic book movie. In fact, I would say it's one of the best comic book movies, as a model, as a genre model. And a subpoint, because these are all going to be bullet points, Shift V, JJJ, Shift I, mine, space, right? They're bullets. This one is going to be the only one with a sub-bullet, as good as Iron Man 1, period. Yeah, see, good interpretation of a comic, Yeah, while I am here, I'll just grab some books that Tony, the security guard from Irby, gave me in addition to the shirt. This is just to continue my hearty thanks to Tony, the head of security at Irby, if he's still there, one of the best people I ever met. War, Green Lantern Aftermath. He gave this to me. So he used to work at DC. He's a guy who worked at DC in some capacity, But one of the things that was a benefit of the employees is, occasionally they had extra stuff and they gave them to employees. I have a showcase, Green Lantern Showcase, over 500 pages. The sub-stories of this is good too. The things with Sinestro's story arcs and the different interpretations of Sinestro's story arcs, going from green to yellow, by the way. That's another good thing about the movie. It captured the... Control R. I must have a modifier. No. Okay, so it captures the emotional color nuance of Green Lantern. Because green, in the beginning and end of it all, green is just one of the colors, right? So I guess I'll probably talk a little about the specifics of the colors in the Green Lantern series, because I'm on a roll. So I should keep going. I should show the insides. Some of these are just black and white, but some of these are these lovely color things. And so these 3 books I got from him. He gave them to me along with this T-shirt, having expressed my deep love for it. And I connected with him because he had the same. He's like, "Yep, my favorite one too," for many of the same reasons. So I'm not just shooting hot air here. One of my regular visitors to my videos and commenters is chiming in on essence, the essence of an emotional energy. Oh, how wacky do I get here, Joseph? Should I go into it? I'll go into it just a little bit, because there's always a thin line between being relatable to greens. Most people are green. Most people covet green. I'm moving to Staten Island. I'm moving to the land of the green. And there's a thin line between the hyper-literal green folks who covet material goods, who are harsh in nature and competitive. I mean, it's not bad. It sounds like it's putting it down, but green is natural hunters. Okay? While not creative, while not terribly creative, green plus creativity is power. And you'll see this a lot in the Green Lantern stories. Green is naturally very powerful. These aliens drop these rings into these, pure of soul and deeply motivated and highly naturally capable individuals. It's like choosing a superhero, right? Who should be the cop? Who should be the super cop? And so they drop a ring in their hands and they are like, well, you got to come to IO for some boot camp training, because you're not going to get it on your own. Even though you have the powers, the ring is yours. You have the powers. You can recharge it from local sources. But the big battery's here on IO. The boot camp training is here on IO. All these great stories surrounding this Warlog or Borlog, I forget his name, but the boot camp guy too. There's different boot camp guys, really big ones, but then smaller. Don't let me digress too much. So the point is that this green arrow, this green hunter power, is already powerful. But you must add creativity to realize your true power. And that creativity is the will. Deliberate will. Let's get rid of ambiguity here. Let's get rid of any possibility of me talking about something other than what I mean. It is the deliberate autonomous and creative will of living things. That's green. That's the essence, as Joseph puts it, of green. And, for people who still don't get it, life, chlorophyll, that's one I gotta look up. Now, the science buffs out there will be like, oh, it didn't have to be green. That's just a coincidence of evolution. It could have just as easily been purple. Yeah, probably could have just as easily been purple. Make sure I get the spelling. Yeah, see, I got the spelling wrong. I got to go to that one. And it's, of course, not going to be uppercase, but that gives me a chance to show you Vim, the power of Vim. VW, highlight word, shift tilde. There, it's uppercase. Life, chlorophyll. And specifically, you get to things like branches. Branches and leaves. You get it? Things you draw energy from eating. And shape weapons from carving. Branches and leaves. Leaves, I don't know, whatever. You get it. Okay, so green isn't where the world of Green Lantern begins and ends. There are other essential energies that can be tapped. And each has its own strengths and weaknesses. I'll go back to normal size. And some are as two-edged as you may imagine. Like red. Of course, like red. Red is going to be a two-edged sword in the world of Green Lantern. Leaves, L-E-A-V-E-S. Thank you. I'll fix that. I love the people who tune in. I should check out your stuff. If anyone who tunes into me has their own thing, please let me know. You can promote yourself here. I don't care. Just do it so that YouTube won't edit it. Do space so that YouTube doesn't edit it. I want to thank back these folks who, what can you say? You look for connections. You look for people. You look for, that's it. Who needs to elaborate? You look for connections with people. Who are your people? Where is this tribe? Regardless of societies and culture and places on the planet, this is one of the great gifts. This internet thing that's going on is one of the great gifts of our time. And all these people who are so pessimistic, all these people are like, we reached a tipping point of carbon emissions. Well, let me draw a picture for you. Everyone who's talking about tipping point of carbon emissions, this is what the advancement of technology looks like. What color should that be? And yellow, since we're talking about emotional energies. Yellow is the sun and urine and the sun. All human history, industrial revolution. All right? And this slowdown here is because the slowdown of like flying cars and stuff, right? We don't have a lot of the stuff that people might think we should have at this time. So on this axis is time. And on this axis is advancements, tech. And around here is the Industrial Revolution. And everything that's happening now is this. And so there's this image in people's minds that because of the carbon that's been put out into the air, it's just over and humanity is reaching some sort of collapse. Now, the thing is, this carbon that's put out into the air is because of burning and releasing the stuff of life. That's why this carbon is in the air. That should be more like a skull, right? Oh, Joe, pessimist, it's all over for us now. Energy is released. What is that? That's good. What is a good emotional energy? It's a transition. It's going from this state, and energy is released into stuff that becomes money for people who are releasing the energy, and benefits for the people who are driving. It looks like I'm drawing it so that it's bad, but this purple transition means you can drive your car. You can be on the internet like I am right now. It's really not all that bad. So it's because energy is released. This is energy. Life minus energy equals carbon in the air. There is a symmetry here that people just don't realize, because when you put energy back in from sources unknown, let's call it, fusion, solar, the bloom boxes, I'll undo that one. There's like lots of things that promise free energy on the horizon. Some of it here, things like superconductivity, factor into it. But when you put all this free energy, what we're talking about, and I'll do that green because it's human free will. We get it because of the green energy. Free energy. When you put the free energy back into here, what do you have? Oh, I wish I drew it smaller and different. This is where those people who do all that stuff with those drawing things that you move it and change its location. Well, I'll work it into the picture here. I don't want to take it out of context. First of all, this reveals itself as not 1 over x, but as the logistics curve. And as that settles down, you get, let's just put one word in there, okay? It could be many different things, but I'm just going to use one to get the point across. Nope, not in yellow. It's green. Free gifts, human free will, solutions. Graphene. Ooh, rains from the sky like manna. No reason why not. The only reason why not is the human free will, is the application of the green energy by the optimists, by the kinds of people who get recruited into the Green Lantern Corps. This is why I'm so drawn to it. It's a rare and special and precious. Most people aren't that way. Yeah, strengths. They have strengths. So red, I ought to finish out this thing because people think red is passion and anger and therefore negative. Yes, when unchecked. But also love and intensity, and it's all very same. Love, intensity, determination. Sometimes you want the reds on your side. If you're building an army, not the reds who are blues wearing red armor. Sure, they're going to be on the right side of things. They're going to be on the army of righteousness. But you also want the reds who might actually end up on the wrong side. Smog. You want smog on your side. The giants. You want the giants on your side. So if a war is brewing, the reds are actually all potential good guys. They are not necessarily the force of chaos. And you see these stories recurring in stories. You see these concepts, these tropes recurring in all the great stories. The bad guys who are true reds in nature, legitimate reasons to be angry, often are your best allies on the side of good, which flip the battle in favor of of those who think all life has rights and not just some small homogeny. Okay, so concepts you'll see is diversity of life as good versus hegemonies. It's a sci-fi term that always pops up. Orson Scott Card in his Ender Game series talks about it a lot, but you'll see it other places too. Leadership or dominance, especially by one country or social group over others, right? So if you're talking about life having strength through its diversity, it takes different strokes for different folks, then that is versus homogeny and ONIES, right? Societies that are built on that basis, you know, and that is often you see this in science fiction as, you know, cat-based races or lizard-based races, specifically because, you know, I should put lizard-based first, because they lack the emotional nuance. They don't lack emotions. Lizards have emotions. Talk to anyone with a bearded dragon as a pet. They lack the emotional nuance and subtlety of colony mammals. Shouldn't be a parenthesis. This is just the key idea, because colony mammals are born more vulnerable. And those emotions are needed so that the whole colony can keep the young alive. It's evolution. It's, you know, maybe God's design, who knows? I try and keep that out of it, but it's definitely also at least evolutionary. Thank you. You too. New one joining in. Kimmery Records. Great. Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, so now it's an important thing to see why you'll see in science fiction and paranoid, you know, whatever they call those things, the QAnons and all those people who think the lizards are already here. It's because it's coded into us that these things are dangerous. We're always on the lookout for lizards. This is why the snake in the Garden of Eden. Come on, people. How is it not intuitively dangerous that things that are almost like us, but which lack the emotional nuance and subtlety of colony animals, keep our babies alive, and they also tend to eat our babies? Ugh. We're scared of them. We're scared there will be alien races that are more like them than like us. And it's a legitimate fear. Now, cats are really interesting. I'll say a word about cats. Yes, you're welcome, and I'm so grateful for the feedback and the typing, you know. So cat-based races and cats in general are like alligator turtles. Alligator snapping turtles in particular. Huh? What the heck are you talking about, Mike? First, cat-based races, cats in general. Cats are a regression to ambush predator strategies. Reptilian strategies. Is this a condemnation? Is this a recrimination of cats? No, I love cats. I got 2 of them around me. What you need to do is understand this, not fear this, understand this. Ambush predation is a good strategy. I am the bush. Ambush. How is this not like everyday stuff? How do I have to pick this up from the Crude's cartoon? Crude's cartoon channeled that concept. I am the bush, ambush. Maybe it came from somewhere else first, but certainly the first time I heard it. And my kid repeated it to me. My kid once again schooled me. I explained to them what ambush predation is and why lizards and reptiles tend to do it, because they're cold-blooded and they have no choice, right? So you got to get that. You got to get that cold-blooded animals basically have no choice. they have to be ambush predators because they're conserving their energy. They use the light of the sun shining on them to digest, and then when they've digested it all, they need to bring some more food in and repeat the whole process. But they have to spend energy in a sudden movement because they don't have the fast heartbeat and the constant burning and the sweating and the wing flapping and stuff of birds and mammals. So they got to sneak up on things. And it isn't nice in the eyes of a more subtly emotionally nuanced animal like a mammal. It comes off as evil. Those slanted eyes and the venomous fangs and stuff, and the things that happen to make these animals more efficient hunters and killers. And you got your sharks. It's terrifying, but it's not evil. It's just a good life template for survival, for evolution. So to understand why cats are a regression, I probably hardly even need to explain it. Cats like their free time. Cats like their pride. They call it a pride. I mean, there's so much channeling of what's going on here. Cats are proud animals. They have a sense of self, and they want to hang around all day sleeping and having sex and just go out every once in a while to do their hunting and be heroes coming back with some kill. It's a good strategy. When a mammal regresses to ambush predation, they suddenly have superpowers and they can be the bigger, badder, higher food chain thing. Who wouldn't want that? So cats have, some smarts about them. It's terrifying to other mammals who have not adapted that strategy. And are cats the only ones who have regressed? No. Not all reptiles are ambush predators. Okay, not all. As example, veggie eating turtles. Round, shielded armor. Different strategy. Do you like the blues and the yellows? I think I'll turn off spell. You don't need to be looking at all that and search for gobbledygook. Or goop. God, I hope it's not racial gobbledygook. I got to get my expressions right. It's a chink in my armor. Yeah, afraid of those things that we do not understand. Yeah. Okay, so to hit this turtle point home, turtles are evolved reptiles trying out less ambushy strategies. Trying more to be like mammals, but using the strategy, the tactics. I already use strategy. It's a particular tactic. How do I protect myself if I'm not ambush predating all the time and I want to just munch veggies? What do I do? Using the tactics of bugs. Exoskeletons, my friends. Use some of that lovely calcium foamy metal. Calcium is metal, that chalky stuff that you imagine as stone or rock. It's not. It's metal. It's rust. It's a type of rust that has different properties than the red rust we know of iron. Rust that comes from different things has different properties. If it's on aluminum, you got a transparent shield over your metal that makes it lightweight and the perfect Captain America shield, right? They say it's vibranium or, what is that other metal that is just unbreakable in the Marvel universe? Oh, adamantium. There's adamantium and vibranium. They're just channeling. It's aluminum with its oxidized rust coating that makes aluminum a super metal. Calcium is similar, but instead of super metal shields, and instead of flaky red, blood smelling rust, it's chalky, semi-flexible, non-corroding, like red that flakes away, building material, right? So the turtles use that for their shells. We use it for our bones. Bugs use it for their exoskeletons, chitlin and stuff. All this stuff is just variations of how calcium is used to create building materials, rigidity stuff on otherwise soft life, right? The original striving to go from blue, from blue circle, fuzzy blue circle, to rigid, sharp, shielded stilts, weapons, shields, spears. It's all about calcium. And we're lucky it's about calcium, because the actual more abundant thing on our planet is silicon. And would you like your bones made of glass? I don't think I'd like my bones made of glass. All that Star Trek stuff that, why is it carbon and calcium when it could have been, silicon for both, right? Carbon and calcium could have been replaced by silicon, right? So you get your, vibrating edge, half, gas, half solid, half valence electrons available. The magic of carbon is actually shared in common with silicon. So you got that. Silicon-based life forms could have been a replacement for carbon. But that same silicon has the rigidity when you need it, in a way carbon does too, but glass, crystals, diamonds, some of the hardest substances in the world are silicon and different, it's carbon in different forms. So, okay. Yeah, they're contenders. I get their properties crisscrossed a bit, but you get the idea. So let's hit this home about the snapping turtles. Turtles are already striving to be more like bugs and mammals in their life templates, right? What these things are life templates, which can be tried out through deliberate life processes. Not just random mutation. It's a claim verging on, non-science. It's a claim verging on pseudoscience from me. So this is where you got to be real careful about not going too wacky. And I'll get to the snapping alligator turtles in a moment. But before we get to the snapping alligator turtles, I will once again hit home, and I'll embed the YouTube link. I really need to get this stuff seen. I got to get the name of the science right, and I want to get a good link for you. So it's another Michael Levin. It's not me, and it's how I know about a lot of this stuff, because as an SEO, I'm going to Google on my name once in a while. So Michael Levin, the microbiologist, is a wonderful, profoundly, creative soul. And you got to watch his stuff. I don't know if this is the right one. Let me just jump through it a bit.
But
yeah, that's the right one. It's good, better quality than the ones I've watched in the past too. There's my keyboard macro to turn that into a YouTube embed. There's two things going on there. First, it's a macro to put this in, and then it's using the Jekyll system of include files, and it's looking for this include file that I have sitting on the hard drive, which when rendered by Jekyll does the rest of the code building. Okay, so this video has gone on for a while. Let me just hit it home. The other Michael Levin. Please watch. Last thing I'll do is I'll get this name of the science, and I'll talk about the snapping turtles, and then I'll wrap this up, because boy have I covered a lot of material. So it's not epigenetics, but it might be epigenealogy. It's not the skin thing. Epigenetics, possibly. Study of heritable phenotype changes. Yeah, they're very related. So the wars in Star Trek that led to the Wrath of Khan guy is also related to the fact that traits of a animal can be passed on as if genetically, without it really being genetic. So it doesn't rely on the random mutation. It relies on events in your life. Honestly, I shit you not. It's worth risking the curses to hit this point home. And watching this video by this Mike Levin about these flatworms that he experiments with will completely explain why. I hope I got the video right. If it turns out it's not the right one.
Not the goals of any.
Let's try Michael Levin. I can't even spell my own name. TED Talk. Worms. We need to see the one with the worms. Yeah, the electrical blueprints. This is a TED Talk. There's a TED Talk opening, and I know it's going to get to the worms. So we paste that in there. We go to here. We go delete to 0. I got the equals in there still, so one hit on X, and then ampersand U, Y, ampersand Y. And I've got a better YouTube embed there for that Michael Levin. You just need to understand what he's talking about in the concept of electrical blueprints that orchestrate life. It's not random mutation, folks. We control our own evolution. Oh, you're talking nuts stuff, Mike. That's pseudoscience. It's not. It's not. It's not. Okay, so the final thing is snapping turtles. Turtles regressed, but then snapping turtles regressed the other way. People who have followed this long probably get it. What do you do once you have regressed from once you've adopted the strategies of shield-wielding, veggie-eating turtles? You once were an ambush predator. You took up shield, and you found some other food sources, and you could protect yourself while you ate the other food sources. Food sources run out, and you got this great shield, but oh my goodness, there goes a fish. Wouldn't it be nice to eat that fish now? I know my ancestors did it once. I can re-express some genes and become this monstrous looking thing that is a stuff of nightmares. Honestly, would you like to run into one of these things? When I once, mellowed out ambush predator decides to unmellow themselves out and to go back to their old ways, oh my God, is that not straight out of Dungeons and Dragons? Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Scouts of America. I got to get on my gender. And if I called my kid by the wrong pronoun, I apologize deeply. And that's not sarcasm. It's because I'm an old guy. And, it's just hard to get used to thought police, when you decide to abide by the wishes of thought police because, why not? It's not really, stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Mine's innocent and tranquil, take those for a hermitage. So if I'm fine in my mind with who I am and what I believe and what I'm about, I'll give people their pronouns, and I apologize for using the wrong ones, but can't change what I think. Well, you can. I'm a dynamic individual, but for the most part, I could just flip through snapping turtles, alligator snapping turtles all day and just enjoy and drink in the beauty of these creatures that express this oh so important, thing about life better than any words I could put on it. Reptiles are ambush predators, but not all reptiles need to stay that way, because some are dynamic individuals who can imagine their way through epigenetic processes to a better life, have access to different food sources, and be able to fend off the bad guys. And when the food sources run out and conditions change, I know how to re-express my old genes, and I can do it. Thank you very much. This is now going to be your shrinking chance to send me questions and stuff as I close tabs and see if there's anything that I forgot to talk about that I'd like to get into this very long, very subject matter covering video that I've done. I guess it was spot on. I talked about all the things I wanted to. Boy, look what I went through. This is going to be a wonderful new blog post. Crisscross verification. Of course, the blowing up now, right? Because it started out with the blowing up. So there has to be crisscross verification. So back to the blowing up. There has to be crisscross verification. Is what you're talking about true? And as important as it seems, provide evidence different ways and through different medias. So of course there's the YouTubes where most of you are right now and will be in the future listening to this in, live cast. And, I don't have to get into that much detail. You get the idea, but Google findable web pages with embedded YouTube. And the YouTube, of course, has embedded URLs of findable pages. Getting the idea? It's not like I don't know how to do this. It's just that I never did this for myself before. Or started to and was, a boy interrupted. But interrupted for the most wonderful reasons, right? So everything is really going to be about fatherhood. Keep it gender non-specific, parenthood. Because why? Even fatherhood, the sound of fatherhood sounds like it's lessening it to something. It's about parenthood and good examples and positivity, which of course leads to the next thing, which is having a real purpose for the world. For anyone who's followed me, the idea of the fourth circle of Ikigai, what the world needs. So do some good. Ultimately the good that has to be done in the world is free energy and the wise and non-hegemonic, not saying what it shouldn't be, we should say what it is, and the wise and fair application. Everything follows free energy, right? It's an in our lifetime thing that changes everything. It's like it's bigger than aliens. What the aliens are going to do, we don't need no friggin' aliens. All we just need to do is finish this always 30 years away to fusion. Or solar. You don't even need solar. You don't need the big sci-fi stuff. More efficient reproducing of chlorophyll. You don't even need to reproduce chlorophyll. You just have to not even artificial. You just learn how to do the chlorophyll trick of leaves, and humanity is on the much better path. Oh my God. So, this is the feeling I have that, the Amigo is the future now, right? So this is a state of mind thing. State of mind transitions. And the exercises thereof. I don't know. I don't want to use the highfalutin language, but it's what comes to mind. The state of mind transitions and the exercises thereof. Getting to a good place in your mind, bit by bit by bit, baby steps, baby steps. Nothing is a project. It's just things doable in a single sitting. And so these are the reasons I'm going to blow up. It went a little bit from very literal, make more YouTube, publish findable pages, to the subject matter and why I'm doing it and why it's so important, why the iron is hot, why we live in the most privileged time in all human history. If we were to do subpoints, this is the most privileged time in all human history. all decisions ever made by humanity pale in comparison to the one that's coming, the one's coming, in regard to how free energy, the application of it, the fairness of it, it just solves everything. You can suck the carbon out of the air, turn it into graphene, get your superconductivity, distribute that energy to where it's needed, use that to run the 3D printers, to build the things, to bring resources to those who need it. And it's not communism. It is the transcendence, evolution of humanity to where it clearly is going. So long as the optimists continue to be in control. People think the optimists are not in control. Here's one of those mental exercises. If pessimists were right, we wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here to hear this video. Period. I can elaborate on that with you, but boom, much. And yeah, it hasn't been that long. It's only been half a century since, the Manhattan Project, but it's been half a century since the Manhattan Project. We had Bay of Pigs and how many other things that we just have no idea how near the edge we were. So no matter how crazy the North Koreans and, Vladimir Putin and all these people seem to us, that finger over the button, either one of two things, either it doesn't work and the technicians have disconnected the button, that's one possibility, or those people are not as crazy as the public persona they project. I defy a pessimist to give me a counter argument. Try it. We're still here. Pessimists are wrong. Optimists are right. The people who are really in control of everything are the optimists. They might be greedy son of a bitches. They might be in it for themselves and their kind. They might be trying to lead to a homogeneity led by themselves and their cultures and people like them, but that does not make them suicidal. Genocidal maybe, and that's a problem, but not suicidal. And so destroying it for everybody includes destroying it for themselves. And thus we continue to, and in the future will survive every man-made filter event. You want to know filter events? Go Google that. It'll be a subject for another video. The only filter events we won't survive are those that are not of our own making, and we do have to worry about them, and we're working on them. You pessimists go back to your bickering and echo chambering and whatever, while the optimists will work on our gravity field repulsors of our Iron Man gloves, because that stuff is real. Okay, any final closing my tabs? I love the closing my tabs. Epigenetics, really? Mind over matter is real. Look into it. Watch that Mike Levin video. Homogenies are the opposite of diversity. Ryan Reynolds wouldn't be in a loser movie. Dune was about things you don't think it's about, and the Kwisatz Haderach was Duncan, Idaho, not Paul Atreides. Ads really suck. Litany Against Fear, Lundervand. Different poems to exercises to fortify your mind. That stuff. And the live streaming, last chance to chime in. It's good. I like it. This is a good place to wrap up, right? Where better? What better upbeat note? Pessimists win. Thank you. Hope to see you again soon. Hit the bell to be notified of my live streaming events. Subscribe, naturally. Thumbs up this video in particular. I don't think I made any faux pas in my live cast, so it should be available for, everything as soon as I do this. Later, gator, ambush predator gators, turtle gators, cat, mammalian gators, all you gators, later.